In today's video, we'll recap a 2020 horror film titled Bloody Hell. At the beginning of the film, we see an incident that occurs in Finland where a young girl named Alia is running from several men in the forest. It turns out that the men who are chasing Alia are actually members of her own family. She then plunges into the lake, but the men manage to catch her before she drowns. After that, the scene moves to a bank, where a man named Rex is waiting in line. It's clear that he's there to see his crush, Maddie. While Rex is talking to her, the place is suddenly attacked by robbers who instantly kills a security guard at the bank. The situation becomes tense. Rex then notices a gun in a woman's bag, but the woman doesn't want to act because it is too risky in such a dangerous situation. Rex suddenly behaves strangely, where it appears that he is trying to hold his emotions in order not to act rashly. Something unexpected then happens, and the woman's bag containing the gun suddenly drops and lands on Rex's lap. After that, the scene moves to a courtroom, where Rex is suddenly sued by the judge for slaughtering all of the robbers at the bank earlier. Despite the fact he saved many lives during that incident and is considered a hero to many, he's still sentenced to 8 years in prison. 8 years later, Rex is released from prison, and is staring at a magazine that has a picture of his own face. It appears on the cover that he is still considered a hero due to his heroic act. After being released, he is not shunned by society. Instead, he is always noticed by the public and chased around by reporters. This makes Rex real uncomfortable, and his own conscience bearing a different side of himself shows up in the physical realm. His alter ego appears more emotionally mature than himself. When Rex can no longer stand their incessant presence, he gets to his feet and throws the table at the entire group. But in reality, it is all just his imagination acting as a release for his emotions due to his current stress. Although Rex is widely regarded as a hero, there are still some people who don't like his heroic efforts and regard him as a psycho. Rex then goes to see his friend and says that he's fed up with his life now, which is no longer normal because so many people are drawn to him. As a result, he finally decides to leave the city where he now lives and moves to Finland. Plus, the reason Rex wants to go to Finland is slightly irrational. When he was in prison, he shot a spitball gun and it landed right on Finland. After that, the scene moves to a forest which shows a man running from the pursuit of several people. The people who are chasing the man look like the people at the beginning of the film. The man is then forcefully pulled by a strong creature which sounds terrifying. We shift back to Rex, who is now at the airport, and as usual, a random guy starts to film him. Moreover, Rex also notices an odd husband and wife couple who are keeping an eye on him. When things start to get noisy again and people start filming him, he becomes more annoyed, and eventually decides to go to the restroom. However, it appears the couple's husband has already been in the toilet and is staring at Rex while he is peeing in the bathroom. And when Rex returns to his seat, the strange couple's wife gives him a creepy smile. After Rex arrives in Finland, he is waiting for a ride, and at a distance away a taxi driver is watching him. The taxi driver immediately cuts through the taxi line and stops right in front of Rex. When Rex is in his taxi, the driver releases the anesthetic gas, which causes him to become unconscious and eventually pass out. In a house, a family is seen preparing dinner. The scene then shifts to Rex, who has been kidnapped and is tied in the basement of their house. Rex's hands are tied to the ceiling and one of his legs has been amputated. Rex, who has just realized this, tries to scream, but is stopped by someone. It turns out that the person is Rex's conscience, who tells him to keep his mouth shut. After that, he represents Rex to release his emotions by screaming for what has happened to him. His conscience appears to be smarter than he is, and it plays a significant role in both Rex's life and death. He analyzes the situation Rex is currently in. After completing the observation, his conscience concludes that the perpetrators are the strange husband and wife couple from the airport. When Rex is crying about his condition, his conscience gets irritated and starts thinking of ways to get out of there. However, because of the strength of the tie that binds his hands, his conscience has to consider other ways to escape. According to his alter ego, if the perpetrator suddenly appears, he must pretend to be unconscious. Furthermore, after noticing lots of bicycles around him, the alter ego assumes that the perpetrators who kidnapped him are a family. Meanwhile, all of the family members have already gone to sleep upstairs. But the youngest child in the family, named Olavi, is not yet asleep and is curious about their victim this time. Rex, who hasn't had enough time to untie the rope yet, tries to do so with his teeth. The young boy decides to go down to the basement where Rex is held. Rex's efforts are in vain because the rope is too thick. When the young boy enters the room, Rex immediately pretends to be unconscious. Rex then realizes that the person who came is just a child, so he comes up with a plan to make the child an insurance policy to get him out of that place. He persuades Olavi to come closer, before kicking him in the face with his amputated leg and flanking him with both thighs. Not long after, his sister realizes that her little brother is not in bed, so she decides to look for him in the basement. It turns out that this woman's name is Alia, and she is the young girl who had tried to run away from the men earlier. It is her family who has kidnapped Rex. At this point, Rex threatens to break the boy's neck if Alia attempts to kill him. But since Rex is too panicked about his own safety, he accidentally lets go of Olavi, which makes him lose his insurance to get out of there. When Olavi is found unconscious in the room, the psychopath family rushes him to the hospital. The mother then slaps Alia because she thought that Alia has hurt her little brother. Alia appears to have a different nature compared to her family and could be a great opportunity for Rex to get out of there. This is bolstered when Alia suddenly smiles and imagines herself married to Rex, indicating an attraction to Rex. Since her family is in the hospital, Alia immediately goes downstairs to see Rex and treats his leg. Alia then expresses her feelings to Rex. It is at this point that she begins to tell the story of how her family began to kidnap people as food for her eldest brother. Since the birth of her first brother, he has been suffering from a disorder that causes him to crave and eat human flesh. They initially found out when he started biting his father when he was a baby. Therefore, since that incident, her family began kidnapping people to satisfy the eldest brother's hunger, although Alia didn't agree with it. If the older brother didn't really like the flesh of a person, they were forced to find another victim as a replacement. Night after night death came to Alia's life, and she had tried many times to run away from her family. But they were always able to track Alia down and imprisoned her in a wooden cage built by her father. After telling the story, Alia begins to feel sorry for Rex and leaves the knife on the floor. She asks Rex to take the knife himself. Rex manages to get it and tries to cut the rope. Suddenly, Alia's brothers appear and want to execute Rex right away. Rex immediately pretends to be unconscious, and his plan is successful because the brothers cancel their intention. Meanwhile, his personal conscience looks very angry and really wants to end their lives. Just then, they notice Rex's leg has already been bandaged, and they immediately look for Alia in her room. But Alia turns out to be hiding in the basement. Her brother comes back downstairs and takes her upstairs. After that, Rex is injected with some liquid, which causes him to suddenly laugh. We are then transported back 8 years prior, when Rex fought the robbers at the bank. We finally get to see how brutal Rex was when he slaughtered all the robbers there. We see that his conscience was controlling him at that time, and even with such brutality, he becomes a hero to the bank visitors. When Rex tried to save his lover Maddie, the robber was unnerved by the fact that Rex didn't seem bothered by who's gonna die. Even after Maddie was released, Rex, influenced by his own ego, shoots the robber, causing the robber's weapon to accidentally fire off into a cupboard. Unfortunately, a bank employee who was hiding inside the cupboard dies during the incident. And Rex is sentenced to 8 years in prison for allegedly sacrificing other people's lives to satisfy his ego. Plus, since Rex's sentence is too long, Maddie, who had been saved by him, decides to end their relationship because she didn't want to waste her time waiting for him to be released. We then return to Rex. When he regains consciousness, he notices that his other leg is slowly being cut off by a psychopath. He kicks the psychopath, which causes him to rush off to get an anesthetic. At the same time, Rex tries to cut the rope that binds his hands with the knife from Alia. When the man returns to him, Rex quickly stabs the knife into the man's ear canal. Without wasting time, Rex looks for some tools and weapons needed to escape from there. He finds some equipment. Rex attaches a golf club to his leg and tries his best to get to the top floor. After he manages to get out of the basement, his conscience tells him to bring Alia out of the house as well. When Rex then walks out of the house, he thinks about the words of his conscience again. When both parents return from the hospital, they are shocked by the bloodstains in front of their house. Their parents gather the other children and scold them for letting Rex escape. Fearing that Rex would come back with the police, they plan to quickly move out of the house. Unexpectedly, it turns out that Rex has been waiting for them under the table the whole time. And he kills them one by one using a nail gun. As Rex tries to shoot the mother, the nail bullets run out, and he kicks the mother in the head with the golf club attached to his amputated leg. When her son sees the incident, he tries to attack Rex, but Rex quickly throws a knife into his body, causing him to die. Alia then kills her own mother, who has just woken up from unconsciousness. After all of this horrific incident, it turns out that they are still not free because they still have to face Alia's eldest cannibal brother. Her brother eventually appears, going down the stairs with his big body like a monster. In the end, Rex and the cannibal fight each other. Rex manages to cling to the refrigerator door, and he sees that there is a piece of his right leg inside. He looks happy because it turns out that his right leg still hasn't been eaten by the cannibal. He then takes his right leg and immediately thrusts it into the cannibal's mouth. After it is all over, Rex takes Alia back to America, where they decide to live together there. One night, Rex and Alia are seen hanging out with their friends. One of their friends seems interested in Rex. This makes Alia jealous. At this moment, it turns out that Alia also has the same alter ego as Rex. She imagines killing the woman out of jealousy. This suggests the two of them are a perfect match since they have similar alter egos. Meanwhile, in another place, the youngest child from Alia's family who has recovered from the injury intends to avenge the death of his family. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.